as the first president to begin the State of the Union message with these words: Madam Speaker. Some in this chamber are new to the House and the Senate, and I congratulate the Democrat majority.
That was President Bush back in 2007, congratulating then Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the new Democratic majority that had just taken control of both chambers of Congress. But at last night's State of the Union address, there was no mention of the Republicans' midterm victory, no shout-out to the new Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, at all. In fact, this was President Obama's victory message to the Republicans.
I have no more campaigns to run. My only agenda, I know because I won both of them.
Joe Trippi is a former presidential campaign manager for Howard Dean, who has worked on a number of Democratic presidential campaigns, a Fox News contributor. And we begin with Dana Perino. She's co-host of The Five, who served as White House press secretary under President George W. Bush. Classy. I mean, that was classy.
I remember that moment. So when we were getting ready to draft the speech, and the president, it was his choice, right? And I think that graciousness and civility, that is something that you decide to do. And did you see, if you look back at the clip, Speaker Pelosi's face at the time, she was elated, and she got to have her moment.
How can you tell?
And she deserved... That's a good question. Big smile, right? And she had a chance to savor the moment and to be recognized by the President of the United States, and it built some camaraderie, and they knew they were going to have to work together, and they still wanted to get some things done.
How he mentioned it, President Obama did, when the Republicans took over the House last election, but he didn't mention Mitch McConnell in the Senate this time. I mean, is it enough that he gave them a shout out a couple of years ago when they seized one body?
Well, if you're trying to do work with somebody and to do some good negotiations going forward, it probably wouldn't hurt just to say recognize Mitch McConnell and a little bit of applause. It won't diminish you. That's what I think that the president seems to think, that if he goes out of his way, it's not even really out of his way, but if he says something nice about somebody else, that it somehow diminishes him. And I think that the opposite is true. I think it would enhance not only his persona, but also his ability to get some things done. He's about to miss a really great opportunity to get some major legislation passed in a divided Congress.
What did you make of that crack about, they were sort of heckling him about the fact he's not running again, and he sort of shot right back?
So we had a debate on The Five about this, because I thought that it was just spontaneous, but Greg and Eric both thought that it was planned, and then I'm looking back, I'm thinking maybe they did plan it, because there was a little bait out there to see if they could get someone to react.
I think it was spontaneous.
But also it wasn't said in fun. Do you remember when he said to John McCain, "I won, John, and elections have consequences"? Well, other elections have consequences too. President Obama is now presiding over a Congress in that speech with the fewest number of Democrats since 1920. Those elections had consequences too.
Does it diminish the office to be sort of showing the swagger?
If you are still in the 42% that support President Obama, you probably love that speech. If you are in the majority of Americans who look at that and go, "God, is that really necessary? Do we need to be reminded that you won?"